Recently, a local antique shop in Edmonton named Curiosity Inc., owned by Alex Archibald, shut down its retail shop to concentrate on Alex's YouTube and online part of the business. On April 30th and May 1st, Curiosity Inc. had a 2-day auction sale to clear out the store's stock. At this auction and some of Curiosity Inc.'s previous auctions, I purchased a number of items of a military nature, starting with this book on German Militaria. The book's text is in German, but has a large number of illustrations of military kit and will still be a useful reference, and I can use Google Translate to help with the language translation. Also up for bid at the auction were several highly detailed painted tin soldiers of the period of the Napoleonic Wars, and I was the winning bid for 7 of them. The first of these tin soldiers reproduced the famous 1802 painting, Napoleon Crossing the Alps, by Jacques-Louis David. We will now move on to this group of French soldiers, starting with this simple pair depicting a French officer and French hussar of the Napoleonic period. Next up, we have a bugler in the French cavalry blowing his bugle for all he's worth. On his saddlebag is the letter N for Napoleon and the Napoleon eagle. He is armed with a cavalry saber, but oddly, he does not appear to have a firearm as well. Next is a mounted drummer with a pair of kettle drums. The drummer and his horse are both very elaborately turned out and look more suitable for a fancy Paris lounge rather than a Napoleonic battlefield. Next, we will move to the other side of the Napoleonic Wars by examining these 2 British soldiers of the period. First up, we have a British infantryman with his iconic Brown Bess musket and his backpack ready for action. Now we move on to a mounted cavalry sergeant armed with the shorter cavalry version of the Brown Bess musket. He is preparing to strike at the enemy with his cavalry cutlass, but unfortunately the blade has broken off the sword. At the top of his headdress, we see a cap badge that might possibly be for the 3rd King's Own Hussars. All in all, this is a fine set of tin soldiers, and I am glad I was able to acquire them. The next item I had a winning bid for at the 2-day Curiosity Inc. auction, while not strictly related to the military, is unique and interesting. It is a photo of the Edmonton Police Department in the mid-1920s. In one of his YouTube preview videos for this auction, Alex explained how he obtained this photo from the estate of a former Edmonton police chief. The photo features a group of plainclothes detectives and a couple of senior rank officers. They are standing in front of a couple of cars that I think are 1920 era Packards. The Packard was a ruggedly built beast of a car, and I saw a photo on the internet of an elephant climbing in the back of one with no undue stress to the suspension. These cars also appear to feature high-tech safety features like brakes on all 4 wheels. There is also a sign in the photo designating that the speed limit for this intersection was 20 miles per hour. This photo has now found a home on the wall of my den. We will now turn our attention to an auction for Curiosity Inc. held on December the 6th, 2021. At this auction, I won a set of Reproduction flintlock pistols. The 2 pistols in this set are of a unique design, where when the hammer is put into half cock, the entire barrel assembly can be rotated. The idea being that you could fire the pistol twice before reloading. I can see a problem with this design due to the way a flintlock works. To discharge the main charge, a small amount of gunpowder is placed in the pan and covered by the frizzen to retain it in place. When the trigger is pulled, the flint in the hammer strikes the frizzen, generating a spark that ignites the powder in the pan, sending another spark into the barrel, setting off the main charge, which sends the bullet on its way. Since the second lock assembly is facing down, should the frizzen get jarred and moved, the powder in the pan would be lost and the second barrel would not be able to be fired. Also, the pivot point in the pistol introduces a weak point that, should it fail, would result in the pistol being destroyed. I don't know whether this design was ever attempted, but if it was, I would not fire this type of flintlock pistol on a bet. From the Curiosity Inc. auction held on February the 7th, 2022, one of the items I was the winning bid for was this challenge coin for the Service Battalion Army Cadet Corps in Sherwood Park. The coin was of an interest to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was in the Army Cadets myself from 1975 to 1978, albeit in a different unit. I was in the 19th Alberta Dragoons in Edmonton. And number two, one of the units I served with in the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves Militia was the 15th Edmonton Service Battalion. So the coin reminded me of my time both in cadets and in the militia. On the reverse side of this challenge coin is an image of the badge for the Royal Canadian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, or as they are also known, the REME. The REME is the unit responsible for the maintenance and repair of all the equipment used by the Canadian Armed Forces. Since it will no longer be possible to do so, I thought I would include one item I purchased by going into Curiosity Inc. itself. In one of his YouTube videos, Alex was collecting a number of items from a pick, and one of them was a beret with this cap badge on it. The cap badge was for the Royal Canadian Service Corps, which was disbanded in 1968 when the Army, Navy, and Air Force were combined with the unification of the Canadian Armed Forces. This unit was the predecessor of the Service Battalion, the unit I would later serve with during my time in the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves. As I had a connection with this cap badge, I went into Curiosity Inc. and bought it from Alex. I'm going to miss being able to go into Curiosity Inc. and seeing all the unique items Alex had on display for sale. But I wish him and his family all the best in his new endeavors, and I look forward to watching his new adventures on his YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if you have not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. Till next time, everyone keep safe and well.